Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Give Me Rent. Today, we have such a special episode. It is our 50th episode ever.
50 episodes.
I
Wild.
can't
We
believe
made
it.
it 50 episodes, and it's been a great time doing it with the three of us. I mean, I'm happy that we're all together again for the 50th because, we've been doing it a little sporadically recently. Happy to be back with you boys.
Yeah, life happens, but I'm glad that we're back. But without further ado, this is me, Brandon. I am joined by Dylan and Noah.
Yes, sir.
What up,
So
everyone?
I think today for our 50th episode, we got a pretty fascinating topic for you guys. This is something that we talk about all the time, but kind of like what ifs when it comes to movies that
hmm
never got made or sequels that never saw the light of day. I think this is just something it's something we're seeing more and more nowadays, especially with like comic book movies. There's always stuff in development that just are sitting there for a while and never get made. We're looking at you, Blade, but it's
Batgirl.
exactly there. I mean, that movie got made and got shelved. There's so
It
many
just
different instances of this
it
happening
sucks
nowadays.
because you guys remember when Brendan Fraser was coming back to Hollywood and he was Firefly. You
Yeah.
remember how the three of us were excited. We didn't expect anything from the movie with Keaton, but just seeing
I
Fraser on
mean,
screen
it's
again.
genuinely wild that Keaton is like he doesn't even dwell on it. He's like, yeah, it was fun. Like, I don't really mind that it didn't come out. Like, whatever. Like, it's just crazy. There's a whole movie of Michael Keaton's Batman that just will never see the light of day.
It's probably because of the Flash. He probably didn't care. He got to wear the suit at least one last
Oh,
time.
I think he still got paid millions of dollars to do the Batgirl shit. Like, he doesn't care.
Yeah,
Like,
he doesn't care.
but yeah, let's look into some films or stuff that was in development that just never got to be made. I there's so many different ones, but Brandon, you want to start us off with one that you were looking into?
Yeah, no, I really dug deep into this. There were so many movies I was thinking about, Hellraiser Origins. I was really thinking of doing Batgirl. I was thinking of doing Last Ronin. I really thought there was an era of Disney that I feel like has not been replicated ever. And when your main voice actor for your main villain is Willem Dafoe, and you're in early production, you don't finish the movie, you have a lot of storyboards. Treasure Planet 2. I I think that's such a unique one that hasn't happened.
Yeah,
Atlantis, Treasure Planet. There's, if you want to throw Sinbad in there, Road to El Dorado, like that
that
style.
era of 2D animation in the 90s, like Treasure Planet, like and Atlantis as well, like bangers, like
Yeah,
amazing
and
soundtracks,
it
amazing
technically
characters.
flopped. It technically flopped too. That's the
Yeah.
worst part. It
Well, it's really it is a shame because I do agree. I always wanted to see a sequel, especially to Atlantis. Atlantis definitely called for a sequel. That whole
Mhm.
concept was just so cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, Atlantis did get a sequel. It just was supposed to continue the story. And I remember a while ago there was also
It
going to
did
be
get a
rumor.
sequel?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Atlantis got a sequel. Wasn't it Milo's Return? Atlantis 2?
Milo's Return. Dude came back. Yeah, no, he's. I think you're thinking. Yeah, one of the direct to VHS Disney movies.
Yeah,
Yeah, or
I'm
like
pretty
Kronk's
sure.
New Groove.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that's a sequel if I'm wrong. But
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically, I guess I never caught that one because it's like one of those direct to VHS ones. But yeah, I think a true proper sequel would have been.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people like Milo's Return.
yeah, no, I remember as a kid I didn't like it. But I mean, seeing that in live action would be
Yeah.
awesome,
But
especially if
I
they.
do agree. I think Treasure Planet
Mhm.
would have been really cool to see one. And I do think the project in development was a direct to VHS thing, but still, even just having a sequel to that movie altogether would have been
Yeah,
cool.
and the entire like plot was already written. Like they had the storyline continuing. They had the villain written. They had everybody casted, and there was so much details that came out. And there's still every now and then like they're suggesting a live action remake and all these leaks and yada yada yada. And you never know. You can trust that stuff in today's time, but all the stuff that was confirmed was what the plot was essentially going to be. And
Yeah.
I feel like it's such a unique story. And I know, Dylan, you have your own personal experience with this. I mean, this was one of my favorite movies as a child, but only
Yeah.
$109 million on the, gross with a $140 million budget. So it was looked at as a failure, which definitely
Yeah,
prevented
no,
it.
I mean, like you were saying, I actually was lucky enough to learn directly from the writer of this movie. And the way he kind of put it was that the marketing for that first film kind of just cooked them all together because Disney saw the potential in the project. I mean, it really is a cool concept. And
Yeah.
the movie's good. Like, it is a
Yeah.
good movie. It's actually a really solid movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it. but it just did not make enough money to warrant doing any type of continuation, and really just underperformed. So they just kind of scrapped
Yeah, like
all the
they
ideas.
made barely anything. Like they couldn't even consider doing a VHS follow, like a direct to VHS follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did
That was the
poor.
plan, and just they couldn't do it. And I get it. It just sucks because a lot of time, and you look back at Brother Bear and even the other ones that are successful in that time period. It just you really look at these other projects, like we said before, Atlantis and Treasure Planet, Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas. It really does suck that those could have been just great staples. They're almost looked at as a cult classic now, but they really shouldn't be. I feel like they are so popular still, regardless of how financially they reflected.
Movie definitely should have been a hit.
Yeah,
It's
should have been.
wild.
Yeah, it has all the ingredients of a great Disney movie in it. And it's like very interesting too. Like it's not you can't really compare it to another one. Like it's super out there.
It's how unique it was, especially Atlantis and this. I will always single those two out as much as there's other examples, but
Yeah.
such a
Well,
unique.
those are the ones they really took swings with, I feel like. Those are super interesting films.
And as a kid, I love that movie, and I had like the pop-up book like of Disney movies. It was like a ton of them, and I always focused on those two, Brother Bear. Like I grew up with this stuff, and it's so funny that I know a lot of people that talk about Disney, and we talk about it as a kids. These movies get brought up, so it's so weird to think that this flopped and that prevented a sequel. When I know so many people that loved these two movies.
Yeah.
And it's
specifically.
tough, like even just like looking at the scrapped like concepts from a Treasure Planet too, like clear. And I would assume they were drafted before the first one came out in theaters. The creative team was still really into this world. It's a crazy what if because yes, so much love was put into that second project, which just went nowhere because of financial problems.
Imagine Willem Dafoe is
Yeah, I
the
was
main
saying, yeah,
villain.
Willem Dafoe was tapped to play the main villain. Which Ironbeard was going to be the villain, kind of like a play on Blackbeard for space. But yeah, there's an entire story outline for this movie
Yeah,
online.
there
Like you
is.
could see what this movie's about.
If you look more in depth, like I did research, I saw a lot of like I saw a lot of different things, like people they were proposing.
Yeah, I
to
think they
do
got
the
up into
music.
like this. They were storyboarding it. Like they
Yeah.
really were like completely developing this thing. They got almost as far to like choose a composer for it. Like they got really far.
And one thing that we talk about with Disney is a lot of people complain that it's either they're just rebooting stuff, they're not continuing, and yada yada yada. I wonder how they would do if they just made a direct sequel to this, just took a swing at it. They have the money to eat if they have to, but
Could you
I w-
could you see a sequel coming out like nowadays? The Treasure Planet.
I don't see it, but I could see it if it were to happen. And let's say, because money's different nowadays, let's say they invest the same type of money, I could see them definitely making it back. I feel like
They
marketing
would have
too.
to even go back to doing 2D animation in the first place. So
I feel like that's what lacks, though. Like everything, people complain about new movies. Horror's taking over this other stuff. Disney is not performing well with Marvel, with Star Wars, with all these other projects that I don't think that'd be.
well, I
bad
wouldn't
idea.
say they're not performing well, but compared to like when they were
Like
at
feedback.
their peak.
Well, like
Yeah,
feedback.
I
I'd
feel like
say.
some feedback is definitely getting worse, but even like numbers wise, you're not wrong.
Like-
Like the numbers are going down like 100%.
Like there's stuff that they do make money on, but then what? Nobody talks about it, or it makes money and people get annoyed about it.
Yeah, and it's weird to think because like if say they hypothetically brought back their like a 2D division for animation, should they drop a sequel to a beloved movie like Treasure Planet or do something entirely original?
I
You
feel
know?
like they should take a swing at something entirely.
I think if Disney, which hopefully they do because I know there's been talks of it, like bringing back 2D animation to the forefront, they should do some original projects first to prove they still got it.
Yeah, and then
And
if
then
they
I
can
think-
bring it back,
Yeah, I would love to see a sequel to Treasure Planet, but at the end of the day, like it's just not talked about. Like the movie itself, it deserves to be, but
Yeah.
you're right. Like it's even when it came out, it bombed, which it sucks. Because growing up, we didn't look at it that way. We all loved this movie growing up, watching it on VHS. We never really considered that it was a failure because it was just a huge part of our lives. It's wild to me that it didn't perform.
and it's not like we're nostalgia blinded too. Like we watched this recently, and I know there's times I've said like this movie definitely didn't hold up. I wish I didn't rewatch this or
No,
that.
it holds up.
It holds
Genuinely
up.
good movie.
And I just think it's so different from Disney's normal formula. That's why a lot of these movies didn't perform, and they were taking consistent swings. And I think now's a time where they are in a field of uncertainty. And I'm not saying to go to these two projects specifically, but do something different. Try 2D again. Everything they've been doing recently,
Yeah.
like, is just been forgettable. Yo, I forgot they did that movie. It was not good, or this is that. It's like, do something. See what
Well,
test
they've
the
been sitting
waters.
comfortably for the past like 10 years or so because like
I say
they had a
20.
formula with a
I
lot of
say
their
20.
stuff and it worked. I mean,
It's
it produced numbers for them.
Dill, I would say 20 years.
Yeah, no, it's honestly so fair. It's honestly been a good like 15, 20 years of them just like making consistent sequels that makes them money.
But
Early
like it's
2000s.
also
Think about that. Early.
clearly the influence of Star Wars and Marvel is there
That's what I'm
because
saying.
think of the early 2010s, just 15 years ago, they were making some pretty risky live action films.
Yeah.
And then once they fully got Marvel from Paramount, they just relied on that way of making movies. You can clearly see it with the sequels in Star Wars too. They weren't prepared to make those.
And there's a lot of those movies they dropped. I don't remember. Did they do what was it? Big what is it? Is it Big Red? Why am I blanking? Maybe it's not Big Red.
Turning Red? So
Yeah,
the
Turning Red. Was that
Pixar
them?
movie?
Yeah.
That's Pixar, yeah.
Yeah, it was like just in general, like I didn't like that movie like, that much. Like it was very mid, I'd say. And, I liked Luca. There's a couple of projects that I have enjoyed that come out of Disney.
I mean, I'll give Hoppers the credit from this year. I think I
Oh,
might be the
I
only one to
liked
have seen that from the three of us, but I thought Hoppers was really good.
Lizard. Shout out.
It was lit.
I
Yeah,
liked it.
solid. No, they
Oh, you saw Hoppers?
Yeah, I did. I actually
Yeah,
liked it a lot.
I honestly thought that was like a good like return to like them making a somewhat like chaotic movie that
I'm seeing
still
it
has
again.
like good messaging for everyone and but it was out there. Like it was like fun and like kind of unpredictable in a way. And yeah, it's a Pixar movie, but still under the Disney banner. I was pretty surprised by Hopper.
Yeah, once you're under the Disney banner, like you're gonna be in the Disney conversations. How and everything's 3D now. I want a 2D movie. It's we're seeing it time and time again. I don't want to drag away from the conversation, but the reality is this: we see a lot of Disney do the live action remakes like Lion King or these 3D animations or all this other stuff, and it just does not do well. And I think they really need to swing at like a story, like a rich story, like how Disney feels, like that Peter Pan, that
Yeah.
Treasure Planet. Like you need that feeling in Disney. That's what Disney's all about. That's what Disney is. You go to Disneyland, you have the Peter Pan ride, Pirates of Caribbean. It feels like Disney, that adventurous child side. It doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah, we need more of like them like trying to make, like as weird as it is to say cuz it's a movie, but like their tie-ins to the theme park rides are actually pretty great. Like obviously
Yeah.
Pirates, crazy great franchise in the early 2000s. And even some of the swings that, didn't really hit as much, I feel like looking back on them today, they kind of have merit. Like Tomorrowland, like not the greatest movie, but at least they were swinging and like doing stuff like that. That's only 11 years ago. Like we need to get back to them just trying things like that.
We
I
definitely
don't
do.
disagree. I mean, they tried to make another Haunted Mansion movie and that didn't go too well, but
That is
yeah.
true. I forgot about that.
It happens. I mean, like they were on a consistent track of releasing these kinds of movies. Now they're kind of all over the place, just trying to see what sticks.
But you can see even like if they make something like Haunted Mansion, it still has that influence of like Marvel movies. Like the influence of like how these movies are made and like how like ensembles are like portrayed in them is changed. And it's interesting like I feel like on this channel we were kind of definitely nicer with, our thoughts on Tron Ares. And that was a film that, they probably should have made a few of these, in the 2010s. They gave up on that franchise, released Tron Ares. I think it had more merit than a lot of people were giving it credit for, but still, it's definitely a remnant of what they were doing in the 2010s. It's not as good.
I mean, another big project that never got made, Tron Ascension. That was completely the Star Wars effect. If Disney had never bought Star Wars, we would have got the sequel. The
I had a
true
feeling you
sequel,
were going to bring this up
you
because when
know.
I was doing my research, I'm like, I
Yeah.
wonder who's going to talk about this. I
Well,
knew
yeah,
it.
This wasn't even the one I was going to bring up, but Tron Ascension is definitely one of those movies where it's a huge what if because I guarantee there's a timeline where if Disney did not buy Star Wars, Tron Ascension comes out and is
And it's
it
crazy
would have been a
because
movie.
it can't even happen anymore because a lot of the ideas from Ascension made it into Ares.
Exactly.
Like Ares himself is from Ascension. Jared Leto has been attached to that character all the way back to when they were developing Ascension.
Yeah, absolutely wild. I'm going to jump to a kind of opposite end of the spectrum here pick another project that ended up being made, but in development, it was such a different tone and idea, and the creator behind it. I just feel like what we would have gotten. I mean, it's actually known we would have gotten a much different movie. What I'm talking about is Guillermo del Toro's take on The Hobbit.
Not that I had a feeling you were.
That is something, at least for me as a huge Lord of the Rings fan, such a shame that we never got that.
And his idea was more like it was still more than one movie, but it was two instead of the trilogy.
Well, I'll lay it down for you right now. There was a bunch. Well, first of all, Del Toro did about 18 months of pre-production on The Hobbit. He actually worked
and it's
so
crazy
much
comparing it to the fact that when Peter Jackson took on The Hobbit, like one of the things he literally has acknowledged is that he didn't have enough prep time for a trilogy of movies.
Can I ask a question just because?
Yeah, of course.
Hobbit's not my thing, but I do like Del Toro a lot. What was his exact vision that would have
So
differentiated?
yeah, I'm gonna get into it. So
Okay.
Guillermo, especially compared to the movies that we got, he wanted it to feel more like in Del Toro like fashion. He wanted it to feel more like a fairy tale
Yeah.
as opposed to like the epic feeling that we got with the three Hobbit movies. Also, he wanted it to be two movies. He wanted it to be a two-parter, not a trilogy. He wanted to keep it very faithful to the books because he liked Tolkien, but where he wanted to have a little bit of a spin on it was he wanted to have a much darker tone, especially compared to the Lord of the Rings movies, and he wanted all of the effects, if possible, to be practical. Which
I just genuinely like how would they have done that for Smaug? Like
yeah,
That's
I don't know. I mean,
amazing to
I
think
think
about.
obviously just like Del Toro does nowadays, he uses CG sparingly and when he needs to use CG. Like that is he's not afraid to use it, but he's one of those filmmakers where if you don't need to use it, he's not going to use it.
Yeah.
But for the world of Middle Earth,
I think we can all admit, even Brandon, with you even not seeing the Hobbit movies, like it just would have been a better made movie.
And
Like,
I do like Del
they're
Toro a
ugly
lot in his
films.
projects, so like I'm very interested in this from what you're saying right now.
yeah, I just think his take on it would have at least offered something very interesting. Where I think the trilogy that we ended up getting was very interested in connecting to the original trilogy of Lord of the Rings movies, and it didn't need to do that.
Do you think it would have distanced itself, like not even show Frodo?
Yeah, I don't think the Hobbit movies need that. Even if it did, even if he did show Frodo.
Yeah, the thing about the Hobbit is that like even though he gets the ring and it has all that, like the movies are a weird version of the book because like yeah, it's trying to tie in so hard into something that the Hobbit predates Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And it was very much its own thing for a few years.
Yeah, even when Tolkien read it, like when he wrote the original Hobbit, it was not really connected to a new story. He wrote the Lord of the Rings, saying, "Yeah, I can probably connect these two," but it originally was its own thing. It was just.
I
its own
love how
take.
they're connected, but yeah, as someone who's read the books, they're very different.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, it's just I was very disappointed with what we ended up getting with the Hobbit trilogy. I think the overabundance of CGI is so apparent.
The 3D, it's just so ugly. Like
yeah,
they're-
I don't like
like
how it looks.
like compared to the other trilogy, the Lord of the Rings, like it's one of the most gorgeous looking set of films like just ever.
Yeah,
And then you have the Hobbits. They're hard to watch. Like they're genuinely hard to look at.
it's true. It's crazy. It's just so crazy to me that like Del Toro generally worked on this project so long that it got to a point where he just couldn't do it anymore because it was taking up too much of his time. Like that's what happened.
That's a shame.
Yeah, like he
Oh,
got
that
to
would've
almost
been
2 years of working on this, and he was
It's
just
a
like, I
crazy
can't
what
do it.
if because he got so deep into it, and then they genuinely took the route of going like, for some reason, they were like, let's just milk it and go lazier with our approach to this.
Yeah, and we'll include pics in this video, but there you can see pics of some concept art and kind of the vibe that he was going for in this film, and it looks
Very interesting.
super interesting. I just would have really preferred a different take on Middle Earth than what we got.
Well, it sucks having three. I mean, I'm not speaking for everyone because there is some good things in the Hobbit movies,
Oh yeah, The Hobbit isn't all bad. They're actually solid flicks.
but I don't revisit them.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues I have with that trilogy is just what Jackson added to the story. So unnecessary.
Mhm.
Like the dwarf and elf
Agreed.
romance. Like, what is going on? Like, why is that needed?
Yeah, a lot of the additions, like even the stuff that's trying to tie in, especially like even seeing Sauron before,
Not needed.
like it's just so not needed. Like it doesn't need to be like Star Wars. They were trying to make it like the kind of like the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
In a way.
and it just genuinely, yeah, I just don't like revisiting them because this adds to it so much because it's just like wow, like what could have been, like it genuinely probably could have been so much better.
No, I agreed, and it's wild. Like we're in 2026 now. Like we have two new projects on the way from them, and I feel very similarly. Like I feel even worse about these new ones because one, we got probably adapting a few chapters of from Fellowship that weren't adapted, and the other is the Hunt for Gollum. And listen, it's I love this franchise. Like I love the Middle Earths, but like we already got three movies that like were not great, and now we're just gonna milk it even further.
Hmm.
We have a show that no one cares about too. Like I mean, I'm not gonna say no one cares about. I didn't mean to say it that harshly. But if we have a Lord of the Rings show and it's not like very talked about, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, and I'm not even a Lord of the Rings like fanboy or somebody. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I am. But I agree with you guys. I feel like there's not been a lot of talk about it. It's debatably the greatest franchise of all time.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, listen, undoubtedly the best trilogy ever.
Yeah,
And that's
you know.
obviously because they filmed them all together and like all these aspects about it. But it really is some of like the strongest like blockbuster filmmaking of all time, and The Hobbit is nowhere near it. And it's always crazy to me. But yeah, I mean, we can jump away from Middle Earth because I have one that's still kind of in like the nerdy fandom section, but I think this is something that I mean I once I get into it, you understand what I'm saying, but I wasn't really into this at first, like all these movies, like the possibility of them coming out. But I'm gonna just jump into Zack Snyder's DC, his plans there. That's what I wanted to talk about because some of the most fascinating things about what he was gonna do, specifically like his Justice League plans, which was going to be a 5 movie arc. We got 3 of the movies. We got Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was going to be a very different movie. We did get the Snyder
Release
cut
the
or whatever.
Snyder cut.
And of course, that's what I meant. I wasn't into it at first, but I definitely was a part of that movement before we eventually got the film, which was, I will say this. I think the reason I wanted to talk about this is because say what you want about Snyder, and listen, there's a lot of problems with his films. But I think Zack Snyder's Justice League is his finest hour.
It's
Listen, you
actually
might
very
think
good.
Man of Steel is a better film. I might even agree. I'd have to. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've seen both. I'd have to rewatch them. One's obviously a lot more lengthier, but I think the fact that we got the Snyder cut and it was at least so much better than Whedon's version, it
Oh,
really was Zack Snyder's
cleared.
finest hour.
I won't forget us texting, guys. It dropped, and we watched it, and it was like night
Yeah,
and day. Like the day
watched
before I
it
watched
alone in my
Whedon.
college dorm, and I immediately called you after, Brandon.
I won't forget. We called, and I literally told you I was like, I'm not done yet. I was
Yeah, I
you
mean,
finished. I
four
won't
and a
forget you
half
finished.
hours.
I won't forget. I called you right after, and I just 3 words was just holy crap.
Yeah,
Or
no,
2 words. 2 words.
I
2 words.
do agree with your sentiment, Noah, because it I do think Man of Steel is a better movie, but I think he finally tapped into how to combine his visual storytelling with the like epicness of the Justice League itself. Like it just that mix really worked in that movie.
Yeah, I really love his interpretation, like trying to represent the league as kind of just gods. I think it works well for his take on the universe. And listen, I think out of the 3 movies that he did for DC, like, or not counting Watchmen, but is from the trilogy, it's definitely the most comic booky. It leans into very, I wouldn't say color stuff because it's still a dark film. It's
Yeah.
still a dark film, but it's an interesting groundwork to where his story was going to go, much more so than the previous 2 movies that came before it. And that's why a lot of people wanted, his 4th and 5th movie. And I think part of him thought there might be a chance when he was completing the Snyder Cut. You know what I mean? It was before they really tapped James Gunn to be the head of DC now. We were in a weird time, really peak COVID. Like, I think that's one of the main reasons we got the movie, to be honest, is because of COVID-19. The fact that I just remember it being announced, it felt unreal because we went from a studio saying it doesn't exist to saying we're going to give him some money to finish this. It does exist. And he hasn't stopped posting about, his time with DC. There's still fans that really want to see it. And listen, there's a lot of DC fans that think the Snyder fans are annoying. They call him, kind of like a cult. But Zack Snyder himself points it out. these people did a lot of good. They raised a lot of money for suicide prevention, and that's why I joined the movement too. I started to see what it was really about, how they outed him from the DC franchise. It was really messed up, and I know it's all good now. He's kind of made his peace with it, but there's still a part of him that would like to continue this. And I think something that's crazy, really delving into the what ifs now, like what we're really talking about here, is that he had a full plans wrote out. Like some things, the studio were like, okay, that's too much. We can't do that. But he literally did an exhibition after Justice League came out, his Justice League, and it was a full art gallery that had storyboards laid out, writing like all the like kind of just the overall like arc that they're, especially for Superman, the arc that they were going to bring us on for the films. Very intriguing stuff. There's a lot of things in there that are a little too edgy, definitely his style, but there's a lot of things in there that also I would have really liked to see.
Zach likes to take jumps, and I respect a lot. Like, listen, as much as, I don't agree with certain things, I respect it because he's trying to be so different from everybody else, and you see it in his work. And it does suck that we didn't get the rest of this universe. I totally agree with you, Noah. I would have liked just to see what it would look like finished, but also I'm appreciative of what we got because it was canceled. But I would love to see, and you could tell, like you said, he's always posting stuff.
Well,
still. He's
there's a way
always
to look
doing
at it
stuff,
from
so
both sides.
you see that he has love for this, this universe so much more that, it's been how many years now since Snyder Cut was finished?
5 years since the Snyder Cut.
Well, before the release, when did he finish it exactly?
Well,
2017.
the crazy thing about
been almost 10
thing
years,
about
and he
him is
loves
he
it
finished
still.
filming 2016. The movie came out in 2017. He's probably kicked off the production mid 2016, and Josh Whedon took over. We got a movie that a lot of people realize right away it's not a Zack Snyder movie, even though his name was on it. And I know he's never even seen that cut of the movie. I hope he never watches it because it's abysmal. Like it. Listen, you could say there's some things. There's a lot of problems with his version, but it's still actually like grand take, and it actually like does something cool with the League, representing them as gods. I like how he saw it that way. There's a couple bold choices that I wouldn't have gone that route, but it's still a very epic movie that I think especially since he had to introduce 3 characters in the one movie like that weren't introduced before. Like we only had Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, and we had to introduce Cyborg, the Flash, and Aquaman. They had brief introductions in the movie previous, but really had to like these characters by the end of the film. I think he actually does a really good job, especially for Cyborg, because compared to the original film, he's non-existent. The character is non-existent in that. He really is the heart and soul of Zack's Justice League, and it's one of the main reasons where it's like, yeah, like I just don't understand how the studio wanted to get rid of things like that.
Yeah, I do totally agree with you. He makes some insanely bold decisions, and I think the studio completely realized when the reception, especially the reception for Batman v Superman, that this might not be the guy that you want to run your comic book universe that you're betting on, because he really makes. I mean, some of the decisions he was going to make in the 4th and 5th movie are kind of wild. At least what he had written down on paper. For instance, Batman was going to have a relationship with Lois Lane while Superman's dead or whatever, and eventually he impregnates Lois Lane and has a child. It's like there's some insane stuff.
And then that kid becomes Batman, and Superman's okay with it. Like, but that was cut out of the first movie. There's like genuine things that were going to happen. Like Riddler shows up, kills himself. Like that's like over the anti-life equation. I'm not gonna delve into why that happens, but like it's edgy things, that's very in line with his style. Obviously, like the whole nightmare scenario that was gonna happen, that's very out there. Like
It's so
especially for like we just introduced the Justice League. He's doing grandiose stories with them.
It's
And
untraditional.
I think it's more his focus where it's like it's interesting he wanted to do a 5-movie arc while still setting up a shared universe. But I feel like by the end of his 5 movies, there was going to be a reset with what they want to do with the Flash, everything there. And I think that's a cool idea. I kind of wish we got his 5-movie arc and then it reset to James Gunn's universe.
Yeah, I mean, you got to just kind of take Snyder's verse for what it is. It's an Elseworld story. Like, those are just stories that, like, it's an insanely interesting take on that universe. And it's wild that we even got those movies to begin with.
It is. It is. It's just. It's so weird when you look back at it too. Like, forget about the fact that we got it. It just. It's so weird still. Like all the certain concepts, and I feel like we get pieces and pieces still to this day. And there's some things I'm like, I gotta do double take. I'm like, Zach really wanted to do that.
Yeah,
But
he
also,
releases a lot of, photos and even just concepts of things that were going to happen. Like his take on Wonder Woman before Patty Jenkins got a hold on it was very different. Like very much more hardcore. There's pictures of her like having severed heads with her, and yeah, it's very interesting that obviously a lot of people call him like a little too edgy, but I do think in the end of the day, especially watching his Justice League, he still understood how to represent the Hope.
yeah,
I will always back that up from him. People think his version of Superman's too dark, this and that. But I kind of enjoy his interpretation. Especially, listen, they killed him off too fast. But I like the idea of a Superman sacrificing himself for a world that completely rejects him. What is more Superman than that? I think it's very interesting, and a lot of people would disagree. But that's why I would have liked to see what he would have done. Because listen, in the end of the day, you're right, Dylan. He was not the man for the job, but he got chosen some way somehow. I mean, I think it was really Chris Nolan and David Goyer really were the people behind that. Him getting the job of Man of Steel. Warner Bros. Gave him the keys to do a Batman Superman movie. The reception was insane, but I will say it didn't take that long for people to come around on it. Obviously, it's more the majority hates BVS, but there is a large vocal majority that also really loves it.
I'll argue with those people defending it.
Yeah, I kind of look at it both ways because the original cut is awful, but then I watched the Ultimate Edition. I'm like, there's something here. Like he isn't like just like hamming it in. Like he tried to do something.
I revisit it a lot more than other comic book movies, and I'm not saying that makes it good, but there's something about it, especially the visuals, because there's a lot of epic moments. There's something about it that makes me come back to it a lot. I come back to this trilogy. It's been a minute, like I said, since I've seen them, but I always find my viewings very interesting whenever I come back to them.
Yeah, I mean it is one of the most interesting
Yeah.
trilogies like ever.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I mean, there's no other comic book movies that really have the vibes like this. Like you could say, like, yeah, he was trying to kind of do Watchmen, but with the main DC characters. But it's even different than that. And I think his Justice League, is a very clear evidence of that. I would have been excited to see where the story went. And I think the way he puts it is, first movie, Man of Steel. Listen, it's edgy, but it still definitely exuberates that hope. BVS takes a even darker turn. Justice League goes to the hope again. His intent was for the next Justice League film, Justice League 2, to be more like BVS, doing the nightmare stuff, going another darker turn. Then you go back to the light with 5, finish it up in another hopeful movie. The idea was to have Superman leading armies of pretty much the universe against Darkseid's forces, which you can look this up. You can see a lot of concept about this.
Yeah, concepts of
He
Green,
said it.
yeah,
It
you got
says
Green
it himself on the
Lanterns.
paper. The whole world unites as a Justice
Yeah,
League.
you got Green
Which you might think is
Lanterns.
a little corny, but
Yeah.
I think the idea of Superman coming back and being that figure of hope again is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean he was gonna
Yeah.
be like Green Lanterns, Amazonians, Atlanteans,
Yep.
humans.
I mean, you see it right in the beginning of his Justice League too. The world is just expanded.
Yeah.
Like obviously you introduce Batman and Wonder Woman in the next film, and then he just goes for it with Justice League. Like you get the Atlanteans, you get the Amazonians. Obviously, the groundwork was there for them, but you just explore the
lantern.
worlds. The lanterns. Yeah, exactly. I like how he just jumps into it being a wider universe with Justice League. So it would have been interesting to see him continue his interpretation in a wider universe.
yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I do think that would have been very interesting to see him actually complete a 5-film thing because he clearly had a vision and wanted to do it, but it just never.
Weren't the New Gods supposed to also get a movie in this universe? Or am
I
completely
believe so.
wrong?
They definitely would have shown up in some capacity because
I
I
know a
know
New Gods movie was
Granny
canceled.
Goodness was
but-
supposed to attack the Amazonians.
Yeah,
It's
we
funny
do
you
see
say
that.
that. It's funny you say that, Brandon, because genuinely this whole video could have just been projects in development for the DCEU. There were so many movies in that thing that just did, like the Batman
D-
movie starring Ben Affleck. That was in
Yeah.
development for
Batman Beyond
Flash,
wasn't
Green
connected,
Lantern Corps.
Yeah.
So
Batman,
much stuff.
Batman Beyond was canceled. Cyborg was supposed to get his own movie. You know what I mean?
That was
Like,
late into the game though, even Beyond, because it's
no,
like
no, Beyond,
they
Beyond was
didn't
later.
know what they were doing. Like early on the Snyder stuff, they released. I remember like a whole roadmap.
Yeah,
2016.
they used to
I mean,
have
they
it
did a
all.
whole presentation of it. I don't know if you guys remember, like Dawn of the
I remember.
Justice League
I
with
remember.
Kevin Smith. They literally announced so many projects that just never came out. Yeah, I was more focused on the Justice League stuff here, but yeah, there were so many things that were going to happen in Zack's
Aquaman
universe.
was supposed to get a third movie that they planned. Obviously, they didn't announce it, but on that
Yeah.
grid, you have Cyborg has his own movie, Martian Manhunter. Like we were supposed to be fed really well, and just listen. It's not Zach's fault, but it's just the way he went about these characters. They
And
just
I
did not
really
perform.
focus on just talking about his, 5-picture arc here with Justice League because, like, yeah, it was never a universe that really screamed this should be like anything near like what Marvel was doing.
Yeah,
It just felt so different. It didn't feel like a traditional. You're right, Don. Like it wasn't a traditional representation of these characters.
Not at all. I mean, honestly, that whole universe, one of the craziest what ifs in Hollywood history.
But yeah, I think we talked about some cool stuff here. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many what ifs, just especially even just like in the comic book genre. I'm happy we mentioned Zach stuff because it's always going to be, at least for me, one of the most out there. To be honest, I would have loved to seen it because I like what James Gunn is doing, but it hasn't fully come together yet. Obviously, I mean we've only had Superman, but we'll see what happens in a few years because Zach even he said he would come back to this.
Yeah.
There are other projects that we mentioned. Maybe Treasure Planet 2 happens. You never know. We're in a day and age where, especially with streaming, we don't really know what's possible. There's so many possibilities now.
Some
Yeah,
of these
especially
projects.
Last
some of them,
Ronin.
yeah.
Was
Yeah,
supposed to be a
that's one of the new
continuation
ones.
I
of
think
the-
I think it might happen. I think
They-
Last Ronin is something that might
Remember?
happen.
Well, do you remember when there was leaks saying it was supposed to be a continuation of the '90s one? Like,
Well, they
like
asked the girl who played April to be in it. So yeah, you're right. Like I
It's
think they were really
crazy.
trying.
Yeah.
Think
I
about
mean,
that.
these things are constantly in development. There's always a ton. And yeah, we're in a day and age where you never know. You never know. But, guys, it's been 50 episodes of Give Me Rent. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If it's your first time, thanks for listening. But we'll catch you on the next one.